All right, well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Connection Hangout and our very first edition of the Tech Connection. I'm joined by my co-host in Marietta, Georgia, David Asarno. Welcome, David.
Welcome, Paul. And this is like the Tech Connection show because we're all tech geekies.
Yes, we are. We're gonna introduce Av here in just a second, but I also want to mention that Brent Brooks should be out there moderating the comment thread below. I know we've had some challenges with our comment thread, so if it's not there, again, thanks for bearing with us during our tech challenge in that department. If it is there, please type in comments. We'd love to hear from everybody and what you guys have to say. And just, if nothing else, just let us know where you're viewing from. The Connection Hangout is not a business presentation, and it's not a product overview. If you'd like more information on ASEA, Renew 28, or ASEA as a business, I would encourage you to get back with the person who invited you to be on this Hangout as soon as we're finished, and they'll be more than happy to get you that information. Okay, so without further ado, let me jump right into it. Tonight, I invited a really good friend of mine I've known since 1998, more than 3 years ago. He's an IT expert. He focuses on solutions for small businesses and network marketing professionals. He's also an ASEA associate, an avid product user. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my good friend, Avie Uniglicht.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks so much, Paul. It's terrific to be with you tonight. How you doing?
Super. How's Philadelphia? You're in Media, right? Or Philadelphia, that area?
I'm right outside of Philadelphia Airport, yes, in the Media, PA. But I call myself Philadelphia because very few people know us around the country as Media. But yes, it's cold out here, Paul.
I know right now we all know you as Iced Over.
That's right.
Iced Over.
Exactly. And this is quite true. Quite true.
Well, it's great meeting you. And by the way, welcome to our first Tech Connection Hangout.
I'm very excited to be a part of this historical event with my good friend Paul. We were just reminiscing how long it's been since we've known each other when the conference call was the only way to do this thing over a telephone. So we've come a long way technology-wise. Glad to meet you, David.
It's great meeting you. Now today, I'd like to at least go over some technology basics to help make people's lives a little bit easier. Now, we all know that technology is designed to create leverage, to help us be more efficient. However, if we don't pay attention to some of these little critical details, many non-techies, lives get a little bit challenging to say the least. So let's start the discussion off by talking about some of the things that we do like impulse clicking. What is this, and why is this a dangerous habit?
Impulse clicking is the type of thing we get involved with because we're very busy. And in addition to that, what do we define impulse clicking as? Clicking anything that pops up on your screen. You know, get it out of my way. I'm going here. This is where I want to get to. If you get in my way, I'm going to click on this. So when we do this, it invites potential intrusions in, especially the types that are human engineered, because today we're exposed to people that want to get into our personal information very, very badly so they can, it's a money-making event, okay? And when that happens, we're exposed. And we want to make sure that when we see things that might look too good to be true or very interesting, exciting, not just in our personal life through the computer or through our email, but on social networks. You know, we even get involved with things from friends that look very, very real, when in fact they may have been, infected or worse, taken over. Their accounts may have been taken over. So people are out to do these types of things, and this social engineering creates this impulse clicking. So, the solution to that is stopping and thinking. I call it the 2-minute pause. Wrote a little blog on that, and we'll be directed to where that might be found later on in the conversation. But in terms of what we do is just stop. You have to put the mouse down, push away from your computer, and sit there and say, is this real? Is this something that we really should be clicking on? And if you take that 2-minute pause, you can avoid an awful lot of intrusions. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Makes sense. And by the way, we've been getting more and more of these emails that come from friends that says that the link is one thing, and then all of a sudden you get that warning message from Google, so someone's already reported it. So I think one of the things, if it looks suspicious, even if it's from a friend, you may want to even look at the link before you actually click on it. See with the link path to see if it is what they say it is.
That's absolutely true. And in Google searches as well. Many people use the Google search as their vehicle to find information, which makes sense. But not every link that you find in Google is authentic. People pay for these. People direct you to places. And worse yet, we were talking about how WordPress sites and different websites get intruded upon, and the owners of these websites don't even know that there's infections in their systems that are being placed on their clients that visit the website. So all these things combine to make you have to be very, very cautious, and that's a concern. Yeah.
So impulse clicking, not to be confused with premature clicking. Right.
No, never do that.
Exactly. So, okay, great stuff, Bob. It's so good to be geeking out with you once again. Another common thing that I've seen people do over the years, I think we're all guilty of it, is not keeping their software up to date. Now, back in the old days, I had some personal nightmares with this. After updating a system when I couldn't get files to open, they weren't compatible, systems crashing after an update, things like that. I know it's a lot less common nowadays, so could you kind of let everyone know when they should have a legitimate concern about updating their software, and if they do have a problem, maybe what they can do about it?
Yeah, absolutely. There's the basic updates. Now, we have a number of different types of users on this call. We have our Windows users who are using various versions of Windows. We have our Mac aficionados that would look at a Windows computer ever again since they've possibly switched. And, these have varied techniques beyond how they actually function. However, in terms of what they do for our end user is raise concern. Every second Tuesday of the month, Microsoft pushes out their Windows updates, and when they do that, you're aware that these updates are coming to you, and it's a good idea to take advantage of them. Now, recently, even just this last update, there were some funky updates that came and got pushed out early on. So I don't necessarily recommend that you run that update the day it's pushed out. But if you wait a couple days and let the guinea pigs test them, you normally know through the social media whether they're a good update or not. We never update a system, however, without doing a full backup of your system. So like you expressed, Paul, if you run into a problem and it trashes your machine, at the very least you can go back to your backups and restore the system prior. Now, you normally have a system restore option on a machine before you install an update, so you can go back to that restore point as if the update never occurred. But there are things that can challenge you with regard to updates, and you need to be aware. So backup is critically important in that. Now, that's the operating system. You also get update notices for Adobe Flash and for Adobe Reader and Java and all these types of different updates that will pop up on your screen, and people often say, no, I don't want to update these things. But these are also ports and holes into your system. If you don't keep these secure in the latest versions, these are vectors into your computer that can affect your security. So it's important to do those updates. Do you do the update when the update pop-up comes up? Not necessarily. Sometimes it's better to go directly to the vendor's website and run the updates from there. That way you're sure you're getting the correct update. It's not a bogus advertisement to update, because even with Adobe Flash, there are update notices that you'll see on a website. Install this update to Adobe so that you can visually take advantage of our website, and they're bogus. They're actually infections. So there's a happy medium as to what
I didn't know that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I see it all the time where, someone said, oh, I just clicked on this update to update my Flash, but it really was not authentic. So, these are all things to scare you a little bit, but just make you aware that don't just click on what you see. Always sit back, pay attention.
The 2-minute pause, right?
The 2-minute pause. You got to do that, and then the push away. Just get away from your machine. Don't touch the keyboard as an impulse, and you're much better off.
So I have a question. I have a Mac, so I don't well, actually, I've got one PC. However, I don't use it. My team uses it. So I mean, that's what you said. Once you go back, you never go back. But here's a question. I've heard that with Macs you don't need antivirus, malware protection, spyware, and firewall software. So A, is that true? Now I do remember the days of having a PC that you had to have antivirus, you had to have all these things. So A, talk about this, and can you explain the differences of these types of software? What do they mean to people?
Okay, that's important. I love the way Apple used to tell their customers, and some of them still do. You walk in, the genius says, no, you don't need any antivirus, any anti-malware. Forget about that. We have a secure operating system. And to that extent, compared to Windows, they do have a fairly closed operating system. It's based on a Unix kernel, and it's pretty secure to that extent. However, the primary reason they used to say that was not that many people were targets, because there weren't that many Apple computers out in the marketplace, and the malware writers had no interest in infecting the Apple machine. But I always came back to the Apple. If you walk into an Apple store and you see on the shelf they sell antivirus, and it was always a complex challenge for me to understand why they told you didn't need it, but yet Apple was endorsing Norton products on their shelf to sell you an antivirus and a security product. So they had many on the shelf, and obviously there was a necessity to use it, but they didn't endorse it to the greatest extent. Today I see more and more Mac infections, believe it or not, David, and they come in the flavor of browser type infections, where you get redirects, you get pop-ups. I've cleaned 2 or 3 in this past week. Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. I got also these ads started popping up on my Google Chrome.
Correct. And that's simply a plug-in that gets an extension that gets added by your just going through one of these infected websites. Since you don't have anything to block those, bam, you get infected, and then you have to clean it off. Now, they can get much, much worse, and they likely will. So you need to be clear that you should be protecting your Mac. And there's a number of free software products that I could recommend for people that have Macs that they can install, as well as paid versions that are very, very good as well. I like.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that next.
We'll get to that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So, you know, that's the idea behind updating, and the fact that you need to do certain things and you need to avoid certain updates so you don't get infected. You need to always go to the source, the authentic source, to get your updates.
Cool. So with regards to, you know, because some of the term, just from a basic perspective, I know a lot of people are confused about antiviruses versus, some people have heard the term malware, spyware, firewall. I think those are probably the main ones.
Yeah.
If you just buy like antivirus, does it include all that, or what, you know, or
in the beginning, Paul, they didn't cover malicious software. Malware stands for malicious software, and now everything almost comes under the umbrella of malicious software, because the intention now, as to the past, a virus would go out, and most were written by script kiddies that like to just see how many machines they can impact, and they'd write a virus that would go out. They had no monetary interest in doing anything other than seeing how many people could be affected, so they can watch their impact on the evening news. Okay, but today there are syndicates that are actually being paid by governments to write this malicious software. They're funded very heavily. They have some of the best programmers in the world using human engineering techniques, and their goal is to infect as many machines as possible, use them as bot networks, use them to abscond information from you, to even encrypt your machine with some of the new crypto viruses that are malware that's out there that will take advantage. So the virus and the malicious software has pretty much come into one. Technically, a virus spreads from file to file in a computer, and it can spread from computer to computer. Most of the malicious software, however, gets installed on your computer, and it simply wreaks havoc with your own computer. It doesn't spread to other files on your machine. But then there's the malicious type that can encrypt, which means they can blend the concepts of a virus with malicious software, where they actually encrypt all the data on your machine, and you have to pay a ransom to get that encryption key back. And It's terrible, you know. So you're not supposed to pay ransoms ever, but sometimes people don't have backups, and the only way they can conceive of getting their data back is to pay the ransom, and they do it in Bitcoin, untraceable money that they request. It could be $300 to $500 a pop, and it gets very expensive. So
okay,
yes.
So let's talk about some solutions then. Since there are like all-encompassing ones, like you were mentioning out there, what are some of the characteristics of some of these better protection packages are out there? And then also, if you already have a virus, maybe, so I know we may have someone watching this now in the future, and if they already have a virus, what do they need to do? Something like a stop, drop, and roll, or?
That's great. Yeah. Well, you know, there are products that are more modern and they're written. You know, most people have heard of McAfee. Antivirus. They've heard of Norton, Internet Security, things like that. They're all-encompassing products, but they've basically been designed around what we call a signature formula, where they have basically a list of bad things that shouldn't be installed on your machine, and they compare every bit of data that comes across your connection to this list. The challenge with that is the list keeps growing by tens of thousands of new entries a day. And by doing that, they make your system slow down because they have to store all those signature bases on your computer. You're always having to update, and that update process takes time. So I've looked at some of the newer techniques that are used, and they're cloud-based. So all the signatures never come to your computer. They sit in a supercomputer in the cloud. And all you need to do is install a little kernel on your machine that goes out and is able to identify everything through this supercomputer. And when you're not connected to the internet, it basically quarantines anything until it can check that supercomputer, so anything new coming into your system won't affect you until that comes out. So that concept is really, really good. There's a product that I like a lot by a company called WebRoot, Secure Anywhere. They make versions not only for the Windows and Mac platform. It's the same product. You pay one license, but you can also put it on your Android phone and your iOS devices. So it covers all the bases, and you simply buy a license that will cover that. So that's one of my favorite products. I've had very few instances where computers that are updated with this product don't get infected, however you want to phrase it. So for cleanup purposes, and in addition, Paul, I have to make this clear. No one product, no matter how good it is, covers all the bases. Nothing's 100% of the time. So I tend to use a layered approach, a cocktail approach, where I have a number of different products on the system. And what it does is it scans, and you could use these complementary products to keep your system clean, second opinion scans, things of that nature. And using them in combination can do tremendous things for you. So those items are very good. And again, there's maintenance, normal maintenance routines that you do with your computer to keep it cleaned up. And by combining WebRoot with some other products like Malwarebytes, CCleaner, and Hitman Pro, these are some names you may have heard of, but I keep all these documented at the website so people can learn more about them when they get a chance. But yes, keeping that updated is very important.
Well, I've taken my page of notes so far, so cool, thanks. I'm going to check this out for my Mac. Now, for those people out there looking to get a new computer soon, buy a Mac, what would you recommend in terms of things they should consider when bringing up and getting a new system, besides buying a Mac?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I wrote an ebook back in the beginning of the millennium. It was called Your Personal Computer Driver's License, because many people buy a new computer and they are not guided. You can probably take a poll of your audience and you'll find out that many of them never had classical training on the PC. They adopted a PC. Maybe their child showed them how to use it because they learned maybe in school or from a friend. But the bottom line is, having a knowledgeable basis of information isn't offered to the buyer. When you walk into a Best Buy or buy a machine from Dell or any of the name brands, they don't do that. They don't care. They want to push the computer out. You connect to your ISP. They don't do much more than possibly offer you an antivirus package. But there are things that you need to know. And if you set up the computer properly, which takes 1 to 2 hours, believe it or not, out of the box, there are updates that need to be done. The security software needs to be installed. And by the way, we may have some new Windows 8 users, 8.1 users that are out there that are really disgusted with how they have to interface with their system. I always install a product that's free called Classic Shell that gives you back your start menu. So that might be a little tip that people might want to jot down. ClassicShell.net offers a free installation that will restore your start menu and allow you to use your computer like the Windows 7 you used to love. So Windows 8's a great product, by the way.
How about XP? I still like XP.
Well, XP, in April of 2014, XP went away as far as support by Microsoft. So that's very, very vulnerable. Anyone using that machine should be very, very aware that they can't get updates from Microsoft any longer for that operating system. Even though it's fast and good, it should really be taken off the internet. I wouldn't recommend you use that, especially in a business environment. Super. So yes.
Super. All right.
Does that all make sense?
Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. So,
excellent.
Okay, so finally, in closing here, one of the reasons I asked Avie to be our guest is because, as a lot of you know, I've got a background, a geek background in IT, but some people, and I know David probably gets this a lot too, some people have interpreted it as we're their IT support department. You get calls on, hey, my computer's not working, and that our role is to fix everyone's computer. And I'll tell you, I have personally been out of the industry when I was full-time for over 14 years now, but even if I were currently or admitted to be an expert, it's definitely no longer my position, and that for me to have to go out and fix over 40,000 computers in the organization is just not realistic. Nothing personal, and it's just, again, called being realistic. So when someone asks me for help with their computer and it's beyond just a simple, quick answer, Avie's who I refer them to. He gives us a great rate. I've never had any negative feedback regarding his services. So if you feel like you get a little over your head, or if some of these things are like, hey, I don't even want to deal with that, I'd rather just have someone take care of that, go to askavie.com, AskAvie.com, and he'll take good care of you, his rates and stuff. Also the links, and again, if you just want to do it yourself, there's links there. Some of the things that he mentioned, and you can just go and do things yourself. But again, if you get it over your head, or you want to make sure things, if you feel like, oh, I have this date, everything's blank now, and you don't want to make the wrong move, then he's a great guy, and we'll definitely take good care of you. You got any closing thoughts or comments, Avie, before we wrap up here?
Thank you so much, Paul. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on the call. Hopefully I could do it again with you sometime. And, they call me your tech concierge. I provide room service remotely. So a lot of people may think, well, Avie's in Philadelphia, he can't help me. But 99% of my work is done through the internet now. Even cleanups where you can't even get on the internet, we do this remotely. So it's something that could easily be done. Come into your living room. You don't even have to get out of your pajamas. And I make it very, very secure and easy for you to get help that way. So happy to help any of the people, and I look forward to it. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, and he speaks great English, So.
even for a nice to over guy from Philadelphia.
Yeah. So fantastic. All right. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight, Avie. And as usual, I want to thank my partner in crime there, David Asarno. Thanks so much, David.
And thank you, Paul, for getting us such a great guest and doing everything you do every week.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, next week we've got the medical or the health professional connection, and a lot of us are going to be over in Cancun, but we're going to have that exciting. The guests we're just firming up the details now, so we'll announce that soon. So be sure to tune in next week. Everybody, go out, have a great rest of your evening, great rest of the week, and I'll see you later. Take care, everyone. Good night.